Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 8th Annual Boston Design Week and our kickoff event on what this runaway real estate market means for the design industry. This featured panel presentation is presented by the Boston Globe. I'm Eileen McElhaney Woods, editor of the Globe's Sunday Real Estate section and realestateboston.com, and I'm also the author of the Globe's real estate newsletter Address. I'm honored to introduce our prestigious panelists from various segments of the design industry. Please welcome renowned luxury home builder Cindy Stumpo, whose success story should be related to all young women. Stumpo sold her first $1 million home when she was only 24, and she's always been a tireless advocate for women to go to trade school, and she and her daughter continue to pioneer together as a family unit. You may remember her from the HGTV show Tough as Nails and her weekly iHeartRadio show. Welcome, Cindy.
Welcome.
I am also
Hi.
pleased to introduce Ana Bonilla of Ana Vera Design. Ana's childhood in Peru and her global travels inspire her eclectic and colorful think outside the box designs. Experiencing both financial freedom and financial loss growing up, Ana learned the art of creating a beautiful home by mixing heirloom pieces with new and reimagined furniture, an art she carries throughout her work today. Welcome, Ana. Please also welcome Sean Clark of Clark Distribution Corporation, New England's exclusive distributor of high-performance appliance brands, including Sub-Zero, Wolf, Cove, Best, Scotsman, and many more. He has been with the company since 2000 and held positions as trade sales representative, builder sales representative, and general manager before being named president in 2015. Named one of the top 50 innovators by Kitchen and Bath Design News and one of the 5 under 40 to watch in New England's commercial real estate industry. He's driven the company's Boston showroom initiative, spearheading the introduction of its first urban showroom, 7 Tide Street in Boston's Seaport District. Prior to his tenure at Clark, Sean was also an associate producer at Warner Brothers. Welcome, Sean.
Hi.
Please also welcome Laurel Bayer, head of marketing for Cronin Development. In this role, she has developed the digital and physical marketing assets for the St. Regis Residences, Boston, and leads the relationship with Marriott's International Branded Residences team. Laurel brings 25 plus years of commercial real estate experience for diverse mixed-use projects. Prior to joining Cronin, Laurel was the CMO of Arrow Street Architecture and Design and held a variety of senior executive positions for WS Development, Tandra Outlets, and Simon Property Group. Welcome, Laurel.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. Starting off today, I'm going to ask the panel several questions, and toward the end, I will take audience questions. So welcome everybody, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us today. I wanted to kick off today with a discussion about how COVID has shaped the design industry. We know that pandemic fuels design. Just looking at the Victorian era when we had the flu epidemic of 1919 and we had the introduction of powder rooms, which we still have today. What do you see the COVID-19 epidemic fueling in design, and what will stick around? Ana.
Well, I've seen an amount of growth and interest in people and potential clientele too, because I think actually families right now and people are using their home 24/7, especially when we were stuck at home. Everybody's, looking at all the projects that they wanted to do for so long, and finally being stuck at home, not traveling, not, saving a little money from just being at home, not eating out. They're really now looking for help and wanted to beautify their home. So it has been an amazing thing for us as the industry, but ups and downs, right? Because it's a lot of demand now.
Laurel, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, I think in the condominium world, what we're finding is that people want more access to the outdoors. They want the ability to be able to open their windows and overlook the harbor or see the city. They want access to, parks when they're in an urban environment. They also want, in the amenity level, they want segmented rooms and places where they can have private gatherings, as well as, they want connected fitness equipment, that Pelotons and things where they can pick up and do their workout. And we've also found a lot of interest in residences that have that plus room, so that have a room that can be converted into an office, can be a den, can be a fitness center, just that extra space, so that when multiple people are working remotely, they can be separated in different parts of their residence.
Okay. Shawn?
Same time.
Yeah, just to add something to what Laurel said on outdoor spaces, typically, in the world I'm in with appliances, New England has not been, a huge market for outdoor kitchens, but we're seeing a really big change in that. Obviously, because of what everyone said, people are home more, and people want outdoor spaces to entertain and cook. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. And furthermore, part of the title about the talk today is about the real estate market. And what we're finding is, part of the reason that there's such a constraint on the real estate market is people are deciding not to sell their home. They're deciding to fix it and renovate it and invest in it. As I think Anna mentioned, there's, all that disposable income is going into the home, but the reverberating effect of that is there's less homes going up for sale. And that's really frustrating real estate brokers. I'm not a broker, but obviously work very closely with, all of the brokers in New England, and they're all really frustrated for that reason. So when a house does come on the market, it's going fast, and I've never seen more homes go for sale for more than asking and have bidding wars than ever before in my 20 years in this market. So it's an interesting phenomenon.
I think some sellers are very concerned that if they sell their place, they might not have a place to go to.
That's true as well.
Yeah. Now, Cindy, you wanted to weigh in?
I did. I want to weigh in on two things. One, what Shawn just said, the brokers are frustrated. Forget the brokers. How about the end users that actually need the homes with their kids? And then who's playing God on the final decision on what family gets the house, right? So you got three offers and everybody's waving. And by the way, who's ever listening, stop waving your home continuously. Don't do that. You need a home inspection. If you're going to lose a deal, lose that deal. But don't waive a home inspection. So the brokers are not who I'm feeling bad for right now. I'm feeling bad for the end users that can't
Fair
get into
point.
a home. Okay. And again, I'm seeing people, this is like I'd say like 2001, when everybody was writing offers on their hoods of their cars. This is even worse than that, what you see going on. But I know we're going off here, and I was going to go back to the original question was pools. And if I don't see another pool out there, if I don't have to build another pool, I'll be the happiest builder ever, because I can't deal with pool people. Like, I just can't. They're just too complicated people to deal with. But we've got like 8 pools going on, and just pools. And I'm doing 5 outdoor kitchens with Shawn right now as we're speaking. So yes, he's right. Everybody wants outdoor space. I even want to be outside, even though we did a funny thing. We literally put furniture in the garage. We call it museum living, Ray and I. And we put furniture in the garage, and we were hanging in the garage September, October, November, because the doors lifted and people could hang out. So we used our garage. $11 million garage house, right? That was $11 million home was sitting in the garage. People were laughing on Facebook, but we literally did that so we could have friends over, 3 garage doors open, and we had the best time in that garage. But yeah, no, I feel bad for the end users. And to go to when you're ready to talk about the real estate market on sales, I think we've got to weigh out the next year of people being fear. They're in fear. They're in disbelief. Do we go back to Boston? Don't we go back to Boston? I think once things start opening up, and we can all start to feel a bit like it was. Maybe it never goes back to the way it was. I think it will, because I went to Florida 3 weeks ago and like everything was normal down there and people were living normal lives.
It already
Yeah.
has started to.
What's
In
that?
in the seaport, it already has started to. You can see a lot more activity in Boston. We have a lot more activity of people buying and a lot more interest. So people are already starting to move back into the city and are already thinking about their life in the city.
Right. And if they go back to the city, then there'll be more supply in the suburbs.
Right.
Right.
So we
That's
saw
what happened.
last year, we saw this shift from a spring housing market to a fall housing market, a robust fall housing market. And we may see the same thing this year.
No
What
such
I'm
thing.
seeing is some realtors are telling their clients, buy a home below your price point and renovate it. Are you seeing a lot of that?
First of all, why are you listening to brokers? I need to understand that. Why is the end user listening to a broker? That's number one.
Cindy, they need advice from somewhere, and I have to ask you to please raise your hand.
Okay. I
Okay.
did, but maybe I didn't see it.
No, well, it was mid-sentence, so.
Go ahead.
All right, so that's one way that buyers can get into the market instead of, spending over. But Sean, you have thoughts on this?
I do, and there's both. I mean, there's certainly a cadre of buyers that, hey, look, I'm one of them. I've done this my whole life. I always look for a house below my price point because I'm the type of person that actually like fixing up a house, and that's where you can get the most value down the road, right? You can make money on it when you flip it. But there's also, I would say, probably the group might disagree with me, but I would say there's an equal number that are the exact opposite. They want to buy a house that's move-in ready. They don't want to deal with it. And frankly, you need both because that's how they match up in the middle, right? So,
Right.
if go back to me, I need someone that wants a move-in ready house when I go to sell my house because I already fixed it. So I'm seeing both.
Right. Anna?
Yeah, also too, right now it's the negative thing about buying a house that is below your what you can afford and trying to renovate it because of the industry has gotten bombarded by so much demand. Trying to find, contractors at this time, it's a long lead time. So a long lead time, so you can be patient and buy the house and eventually, okay, I'm going to do it in a year or a year and a half, start planning. And that too, for consumers to understand that in this time, patient is the number one thing that we're asking, everybody's asking from all of us, from our vendors, we're asking to be patient with furnishings, from our contractors, asking to be patient with, when they can do the work, even for us to, to try to have manageable timeline. Everybody just needs to be patient. And if you can trade off of buying a home that you can renovate, but you can be patient on when you can renovate, when you can get items and furnishing, then it might pay off.
So we're seeing things with the COVID hitting the manufacturing industry and HGTV. People want everything to be perfect and they want it right away. They want a new kitchen in 3 days and things like that. And you're also seeing a falling number of people going into the trades, unfortunately. What are you telling your clients?
Go ahead.
Anybody else?
Anna?
Somebody else could do.
Yeah.
Just like I said, be patient that we will get to work, and we try to, in our firm, we try to always have a mix of big jobs, smaller jobs, and do a good job trying to manage our contractors and our subs. But in clients, I think, have gotten the understanding that this industry has gotten bombarded with work, and they have been, nowadays, they don't, that even in the fall, they didn't have to host for Christmas or Thanksgiving. So that was kind of nice that they wouldn't have the rush of like, oh, I need to have my dining room ready for the holidays. It was okay if it wasn't ready until January or February.
Now, Cindy, you told me about having to drive to Florida to pick up tile, so you know about this firsthand.
I've got a tractor load of material coming up from Florida and still waiting for the tractor to pick it, the trailer to pick it up and bring it here, by the way, which was supposed to be delivered 2 weeks ago. So it's even down to the guys driving the trucks down to getting even the product from 1,500 miles, which 2 years ago would have been here in 2 days, 3 days. Sean will tell you that. In 24 hours, that's not happening. But you had mentioned, let's go back a minute. Sales, spring and fall used to be our two biggest markets, right?
Right.
That's not true anymore. The market's been a hot market 12 months out of the year, except between Christmas and New Year's. And I got to be honest, the last 2 years, we have sold houses at Christmas time. You know, we didn't close till after January. So there's no more of that spring, fall. That's more of our parents' generation of thinking. You go in the spring and you go in the fall, not the summer, not the winter. People are relocating to Boston all the time. People are buying all the time, even previous to COVID, you know. Now it just got what we saw, insanity. The other thing is that I want to talk about is you're watching HGTV, right? Extreme makeovers of the world. That's not the real world. We don't live in that world. We cannot build this in 3 days and have a final reveal for you. It's just impossible. Post-COVID, pre-COVID, after, that doesn't work. And the other thing that I want to touch upon is that we have had a skill gap problem out here for well over 10 years since our last crash. And that skill gap problem gets worse and worse every single year. And if more people like myself would go out there and speak at vocational schools, take the time, go to high schools and say, listen, alternative education, the kid that's bringing home, and if any parents are listening right now, and your kid's a CD student, and you're going to send them off to college and make them accrue a lot of debt, right? When you know that they're going to come out making $15 an hour, send them to a trade school. Let our kids learn trades. They're going to come out, and when they're done, that plumber, that electrician, that HVAC guy, he's going to make more than the average doctor, average lawyer, average accountant. And I'm down to framers, foundation guys. These guys are making more money than and I'm not talking the doctor that removes a brain, tumor out of your head. I'm talking about the average. These guys are killing it out here. They've been killing it a long time, but it's parents. Oh no, I want my kid to go to this school so they can brag to their friends that their kid went to that school. Well, I always say it. My parents have been bragging for 34 years. My daughter's a general contractor.
Sean?
I think that topic right there is a whole panel discussion in and of itself.
Oh.
I couldn't agree with you more. I begged my son. He's one of those kids. I begged him to go become a plumbing apprentice, and he went to culinary school.
We need another chef.
Yeah.
But he's right. Sean's right. Right now, a good plumber out there is making all in $100 and something an hour.
Yeah.
And we'll pay even more money for a good plumber because
My
they're hard to find.
My roommate from college, his parents wasted all of that money, almost over $100,000. And now he's a plumber, and, he's got 4 vans now. He's never going to want for work. And he's the happiest guy I know.
Because think about it, no matter where the market goes, right?
Right.
There's always renovation. There's always work for subcontractors. Always work.
Laurel, you had something to say?
I was just going to say, if they get in young, my partner is 58 years old and just retired from the electrics union and is, doing side jobs and happy as can be. So it is a good industry to get into, and it's a job that will always be there.
Now, when we were talking about this runaway sellers market, I've always heard that you should stage your home. Do people need to spend the money on staging when people are snapping up their homes for over asking price? Anybody?
Well,
I see a lot of head shaking.
Yeah.
Anna?
I do staging as part of my services, and I have seen a little bit of a drop for staging this past spring. What I've seen more of small aesthetic renovations. So they call us and they say, okay, come and, what do I need? And so we'll just go and say, let's change the lights, let's change the vanity, let's paint the walls, let's maybe replace the laminate floor for hardwood or carpet for wood, that kind of more staging, but it's not really staging, but it's small aesthetic renovations that will pay best.
Okay.
For homes that are less than 700, so condos or apartments, staging could make a difference, and we do a lot of those. But anything above, $1 million, it's probably not worth spending the money on staging.
Cindy?
Yeah, she's right. If you have a small space that you're trying to sell, you definitely want to stage that because you want to show that you get the kitchen table, you can get the bedroom, blah, blah, blah. My houses, you don't even want to put furniture in them. I swear to you, I'm not bragging here, but
Yeah.
the furniture makes my houses look ugly. My houses are beautiful on their own. But no, I don't, I've never, in 34 years, I don't think I've staged more than one house.
Now, there are certain things that when you go into an open house, there are certain things that are definitely turnoffs. What kind of trendy things or certain things are really turning off buyers regardless of the market? Anna?
Anything, any rooms, any carpets in New England, like wall-to-wall carpets, if it's not like brand new and high quality, that will be a turnoff.
Okay.
Cheap lighting, because you see it right now. Even now, you see a lot of developers just tearing down houses, building all these in 2-family houses in a one lot space, and then you see they're asking for 1.5 million or more, and the fixtures are, I can spot them. They're like, okay, they got that from Home Depot, they got that from so it's that quality lights that you can spend just a little more to make it a little nicer.
Cindy?
Yeah, so when you're walking the house and you're going to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, no disrespect to the big
Yes,
stores,
yes.
but then the brain goes, oh, this must be a Home Depot house. Leave the lights off. If you can't afford to put nice lights in, then just leave them off, plate them up. She's right. You walk in there, that's the first thing I say too is, what's this, a Home Depot house, a Lowe's house? And again, no disrespect to the big boxes, but if you're trying to pull that type of money, spend the money in the lighting, spend it in the fixtures, spend it in certain areas you're going to see it. But she's so, I'd rather plate them than hang cheesy lights off. It's the truth.
Now, Laurel, at St. Regis, I'm sure that the lighting is top notch. So you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in on, I think that fixtures and appliances are really important. It's sort of the attention to detail. I mean, it's better to spend a little bit more and have the right appliance set up in a kitchen that you've renovated than to go on the cheap. I think that that's obvious when a buyer comes in and looks. I mean, obviously for St. Regis, we've done top of the line with Clark and have, Wolf and Sub-Zero, but I still think even in a home renovation, you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the fixtures, the lighting, the appliances, and making sure that you're putting a package together that's quality. I think spending a little bit more, you're going to get it in the price of the house.
It's all about return on investment.
Exactly.
Sean?
Yeah, I forgive me if this sounds salesy. It's not meant to be, but I think Laurel's hit something. I mean, we say this all the time, with builders and developers is, in a home, there's not a lot of opportunities to brand something. I mean, there's no brand on the sheetrock. There's no brand on the floor, but plumbing fixtures, lighting, certainly, there's some really nice brands, well-known brands, appliances, certainly. And they have a tendency to sort of speak for themselves as to the level of quality in a home. So if you can, it's a good investment for sure, and it'll pay off.
Cindy?
Yeah, but let's make sure this, guys, if it looks like a Rolls Royce, but it has a Honda engine in it, it's still a Honda, right?
Yeah, it's got to be built well by a good builder.
Okay, exactly. So just because you've got these guys or designers that come in that work for these builders and get these builders to step up on appliances and fixtures, if the 2x4s and 2x6s and the studs and dehumidification hasn't been built properly, and the foundation's leaking, the roof's leaking, and it's cracking, and I can tell you a million things that can go wrong, all that beautiful money that you just spent in appliances and fixtures means nothing when there's a foot of water in your basement, okay? And the drainage was done not properly. So if you're going to build a Rolls Royce, then build the Rolls Royce. If you're going to build a Honda, build the Honda. If you're going to build the IKEA, build the IKEA. But build it all.
Don't put lipstick on a pig.
Now, we got into a discussion about materials. So that always brings up the question about what new materials are coming down the pipe. We have, recycled glass counters and quartzite and quartz and marble and concrete and all these different things. So let's talk a little bit about what's new, what works, what's durable, what's good for a house with, kids in it. So anybody want to delve into something new and exciting that they've seen? Sean?
Well, I'm surprised Anna's not going first, or Cindy.
Well, I've been going first all the time.
All right,
so I'd like to speak.
Well, I'll tell you what, we obviously are highly focused on the kitchen. However, more often than not, that drags us into the rest of the house. So, but as far as kitchens go, we're seeing a lot of sort of this idea of old meets new. And reclaimed wood, as an example, has been around for a long time, but a lot of designers are marrying old things and new things to really find this this idea of authenticity. And it's really cool. I mean, when you have man-made materials with natural materials and how they sort of juxtapose and come together, it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool thing to watch. Seeing metals coming back, metal, wood, stone, and you would think, oh God, that's too much, but it's really not. If done well by a good designer, it's worth exploring, marrying different materials together and materials from different eras.
Now, I know that in Massachusetts, we have some of the oldest housing stock in the country, and what we're seeing is a marriage of modern farmhouse, modern colonial, modern prairie house, and all these things. So it certainly makes sense. Anna?
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback on what Sean was saying, that mixing materials, and also too, we do a lot of kitchens, mixing a lot of tones in the kitchen cabinetry. We've done a lot with, maybe a painted upper cabinetry, natural wood on the bottom cabinetry, and then an amazing, pop of color in the island, and mixing also two countertops between, quartz, maybe for the more durable, and maybe in the island more of a butcher kind of countertop. So, and then the trend continues with the mixing of the finishes too. You can do the hardware in brass or satin brass, and then the lights can be satin nickel. And if you do it well, it can look really, 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 one of a kind kind of design.
Laurel?
I think a lot of the products that are coming out too, even with marble, as delicate as it can be, I mean, there's a lot of good sealants out there now, and a lot of products that come prefabricated. There are faux woods that can look like real wood, and they're much more durable. So, if you've got pets or you've got small children, I think there are a lot of products out there today that use some modern technologies in terms of protection that can really
come help me, honey. Come look over here. Hurry up.
Yep. Cindy, we can hear you. You can't hear us? Okay. All right. So talking about getting homes ready for sale and so forth, speaking as someone who has gray all over the walls in her house, I'm finding that, gray is on the way out. What's on the way in?
Warm tones, definitely warm tones. Gray, a lot of more of the beiges, but away from the cool tones. So a lot of more earth tones. When you think of like Moroccan or Spanish kind of traditional paint, indoor paint styles, that's coming back. And the same thing with the kitchen.
I wouldn't even know how to do that.
With the kitchens, the white is going away, and we're having a little more warm tone, wood coming back, in the kitchen cabinetry.
So wood is on the way back in and white kitchens are on the way out. Got it. Shawn?
And Anna is talking about my kitchen. There it is.
You need to call me, Shawn.
Quarter
We'll
sawn,
redo it. Yeah.
quarter sawn oak and stained wood, and
Yeah.
it's here to stay. And if I can build on that a little bit, I think it's important, depending on where you're at. Anna, you can keep me honest here, but I think it's important when you're doing a kitchen, to really think about some level of neutrality, because if you're ever going to resell the house, the kitchen is so important. And obviously, if you want a bright orange kitchen, you get your bright orange kitchen. But resale, I don't know how many people are going to want a bright orange kitchen. So it's important to think about that if you're going to renovate,
Right.
what you choose.
Laurel, are you advocating for the orange kitchen, or do you have something to add?
No, I'm advocating for the wood finishes. So we offered, 4 different choices for kitchen, and the most popular has been the light wood cabinetry and the dark wood floors over the white. White had been very popular in Boston over the last few years. A lot of new developments in Boston offered white as the primary, and we really have had more buyers interested in the light wood cabinetry. So I think that's true, that a lot of the more grainy and the natural tones and more natural woods are becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen a lot with everybody stuck at home, more e-design. Do you think it's here to stay? What are the pros and cons of it all?
I'm sorry. I
Can you repeat
didn't
the
hear
question?
yeah. can you
Oh,
repeat the
sure. I
question?
can repeat the question. So with everybody stuck at home during the pandemic, we saw a marked increase in e-design, virtual design. Is that here to stay? What are the pros and cons of that? Anna?
Yeah, we did see an increase, especially at the beginning when we were all stuck at home and we couldn't really meet in person. But I think now with the vaccines coming and people getting more vaccinated, people are wanting to touch and feel. So I think even if, and we're still doing Zoom meetings with
Right.
clients, but when they want to touch and feel, if we're doing furnishings, they want to touch and feel the fabrics, the rugs and whatnot. So it was a little tricky doing e-design that way. We would ship the samples to them, but and also too for us to get a better sense of going into the home, to get a sense of the people personalities and just looking at other rooms to see what we're designing. We concentrate on client relationship, and it's so much easier to do it in person. It's just really hard to do it via Zoom and phone call.
Now, what do you see as the most popular trend in bathrooms or kitchens these days? And you talked about wood making a comeback and reclaimed wood and metals and things like that. Shawn?
So in kitchens, it's just it's a phenomenon. Actually, the last couple of years, for those of you that aren't aware, is a steam oven, a convection steam oven.
We have them.
Yeah, it's literally it's now rare to see one of our clients not include a steam oven in their kitchen, especially if they've had a chance to experience it. It's the healthiest way to cook. Believe it or not, I don't know if anyone listening is familiar with sous vide, but it's making sous vide come back, which is kind of cool. And it's a really cool way to cook, especially if you want to do, as people are getting back to work and you want to do production cooking on a Sunday with your family, and then seal all these unbelievable meals in bags. And then you pop them in your steam oven sous vide, and you can have amazing meals throughout the week. And you don't, because I got to tell you, I know, I talk to so many people all day, every day. And I'm getting a sense that people are tired of cooking now. You know, it was this whole
Yeah.
phenomenon where people were home and they were excited to cook because they never had time to cook. But it's kind of a pain in the ass to cook every single night, right? And especially, you know, after long Zoom days and as we're getting back to work, the last thing you want to do is cook another meal. So sous vide is a great way to, you know, address that problem. Another thing that is really popping up in kitchens is a built-in coffee system. And you know, we've always had it, but the pandemic really launched it because people couldn't go to Starbucks or they weren't comfortable going to Starbucks. So you can make a latte or a macchiato, you know, right in your house. And then believe it or not, I had this conversation with my daughter recently because she's a Starbucks addict and we had to go through I showed her how much money she spent in a month. And I'm not going to tell you because it's embarrassing at Starbucks. But if you do the math, you can save a ton of money by putting a coffee system in your house. So, and then the only thing, I'm not really obviously a bathroom guy, and you don't think about appliances in a bathroom, but believe it or not, I'm seeing more and more people putting a warming drawer in the bathroom with a custom wood panel on it. And that's where you put your towels to keep your towels warm. Because if you ever stay at a really nice hotel, you know, in Europe or something like that, there's nothing like getting out of the shower and putting a warm towel on your body. So sorry if that's a little weird, but it's amazing.
No, heated floors have been really popular too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cindy?
Yeah, I lost you guys, so sorry. I had to get another computer. Okay. We're doing a lot of kitchens in a kitchen. So we call it the baby
Yes.
kitchen. So we're doing a lot of prep kitchens, a lot of cabinets, just a smaller Wolf, smaller Sub-Zero. Now you don't go in and mess the big kitchen up. You go make your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the prep kitchen and the jellies on top of the counters. That's one, which is becoming very big in my homes. But the three things that sell a home, guys, are the kitchen, the master bedroom, and the master bathroom. Those are the three things. So when you're going to spend your money, allocate the money to those three areas, not the kids' bedrooms, the master, the kitchen, the master bathroom. Of course, everything we build en suite, so every bedroom has a bathroom. So yes, we do care about bathrooms. I haven't tried the warming tray, Sean, but I'm up for it on this one. Okay. But to me, the kitchen inside the kitchen, it's like the best.
Yeah.
You have that one area that you go into, your kids go in, they make a complete disaster, and then your beautiful kitchen with your beautiful countertops are staying beautiful. And the
Yep,
cabinets aren't
true.
taking a beating. It's awesome. Not
Now,
that I know, by the way, I don't know how to use a kitchen, by the way, right? I can't make a cup of coffee, so I need Starbucks. But go ahead.
Now, Cindy, I remember one of my reporters talking to you and you mentioning how you were incorporating cleaning, air cleaning facilities and things like that, utilities in homes.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So we use a lot of Hydra Systems to begin with. A lot of people either live in Hydro air or forced hot air, right? So forced hot air is kind of, you know, the least expensive unit to put in your house, a forced Hydra system. Look at a lot of us probably grew up with radiant heat going to our grandparents' houses, right? That was the best form of heat. But there are a lot of systems that you can put on your systems to kill germs now. And the biggest mistake that people make is, which is so little money, is they forget to change their filters. It's like buying a car and they forget to change their oil. You can't forget to change your filters. I'll walk through homes I've built 2 years later and say, did you change the filter? I look up, I go, oh, we have to change filters? Yeah, you have to change filters.
Don't you send them reminders? If I remember correctly, you send them reminders.
Okay, I'm literally just sending a reminder. We're all changing our landscaper right now because like we need more guys. It's again, everybody wants, here's a perfect example. Yesterday it was what in Boston? 55, kind of raw, cold. And I've got 9 clients that bought houses 6 years ago, 8 years ago. Cindy, I can't get in touch with your guy to start, spring cleanup. We're a little early, but I know they want it done, right? Everybody's now panicking. I need spring cleanup. They've been asking me this for a month. We got snow. We're having snow flurries. So even landscapers are hard to find. This is how bad it's become that I brought another landscaping crew on as of yesterday to take on homes that I've built hundreds of homes, but I stay in contact with all my buyers. And even if they trade off to the next person gets in touch with me and says, hey, I bought this house, which was one of the calls yesterday. We need a landscaper. Oh, it's
Right.
your lucky day. We just hired another landscaping company. But, and again, that goes to outdoor living, lighting. And that's another big one, guys. Lighting. A lot of my clients ask us to come back and add more lighting to the outside, put on the back of the houses, more security lights, but they're not really using it for security. They're using it to stream down on the backyard so the kids can play. That's been a really big one.
No, Anna, I didn't forget you. I know that you wanted to weigh in, so please do.
Oh, yeah, I was just touching bases on going back to your question about bathrooms and kitchens.
Yes.
We do a lot of bathrooms, and we do find that a lot of consumers are asking to get rid of many of their tubs and convert them into showers. That's still a big trend over years and years. And of course, we guide them to at least keep one tub in the house just for resale purposes and for little kids. But a lot of master bathrooms are going away from tubs and just going bigger showers. Or if you have the room, big shower and a freestanding tub. No jacuzzi tubs anymore.
So I'm curious, we're seeing a lot of talk about converting unused office space and hotel rooms into affordable housing. Have you seen a demand like that? What do you think of the idea? Sean?
It's an interesting question. I actually was speaking to just yesterday, speaking to a big developer / financier that straddles Philadelphia and New York. Not that that's Boston, but I think it's a potential predictor where they're estimating 5 million square feet of empty commercial space in New York City. So I have a personal opinion. Please don't quote me on this, but I have a personal opinion that the options are going to be limited for those spaces. And there's a lot of people suggesting that the only answer might be to use that space and convert it to small unit affordable housing. Because what else are they going to do with it?
Right. You hear talk about shipping container homes, but people don't understand that shipping containers only last 25 years, and you can't put windows on the sides. You have to put glass on the ends. So I think with anything, there are drawbacks. There are pros and cons. Would anybody else like to weigh in on this topic?
I would imagine too, with the influx of lab space in the Boston market, there's higher ceilings and different things that are required. And so some of the commercial space, the traditional commercial space, to Sean's point, probably could be converted to residential because it doesn't fit the requirements of some of the specialty spaces that are needed in Boston.
Right. And my understanding, Laurel, to your point is lab space can only go so high anyways, 6 to 8 stories because of there's a lot of restrictions with the equipment and the gases and
the equipment. Yep.
Yeah.
Cindy, you had something to say on this topic?
Yeah, it's actually funny that my fiance Ray and I have been talking about this. He brought to my attention about 2 years ago, even previous to COVID, where Amazon was growing and growing malls, big malls that aren't pulling, right? And and he's a financial advisor with UBS. This is not his game, but he's saying to me, Cindy, why don't you start looking to malls? And then a buddy of mine bought the Taunton Mall. I mean, and he was 5 people at the auction. He bought it. But when you see what this mall went for, it would have been a perfect opportunity to buy it and make micro units, apartments. So we got to watch what happens with these malls. You're walking in malls. They're very quiet right now.
Certainly lots of parking.
And lots of parking, right? Can't get denied, and right off the highways typically. So we're gonna have to follow the mall markets too.
Well, and they're equipped to be they can be mixed used as well. You can mix, restaurant, retail, and condominiums.
Anna, you raised your hand.
Well, I was just saying that I know of a client that is in downtown Boston, in around Chinatown, and they're looking in converting some of their offices because they can't get a tenant for the past year into residence and studios. And
Sean?
they're not having
Sorry.
any issues. Sorry, they're not having any issues with permits. You know, the city is very open to that.
So this, I'm sorry, I raised my hand. So converting commercial to residential right now is easy in Boston, is what you're telling me? Is that
Well, this one client, they were, you know, they weren't having any issues because I think it was a mixed building, and so
Okay.
they had them in office, but before was residence. So going back
Sean?
to residence.
Sean?
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's another dimension to this, which is the Amazon effect, which is really interesting to see how that's all gonna play out as they just continue to spread out and gobble up space. But I'm not sure what the impact is gonna be.
So we had a question from our audience. What are you seeing in the Boston building renovation and even code changes in regard to passive home builds and or conversions?
I'm not understanding the question.
Well, I think that the person wants to know if there are code changes that are affecting the construction of affordable homes in Boston. Cindy?
Not to my knowledge, the code book has not changed.
Yeah.
Last
That's my
edition,
knowledge.
we're still on the last edition, so I have not seen any changes in codes.
I think in new construction, I'm sorry, I think in new
Mm.
construction, sustainability and, you know, climate change has obviously been a big topic. I think some of the code regulations on that type of construction is changing, but I think general code stays the same.
Yeah, but
Go ahead, Cindy.
So every 2 years, we have to renew our licenses, so we have to do extended courses, okay? I just sat in my extended course literally 2 months ago, and I had to call the GLC course and say, it's the same questions from 2 years ago. She's like, Cindy, just go right through it, like, just go right through it. So there was literally, I'm halfway through it, I'm going, there's not one change here. So I personally, where I just took my extended learning class, I didn't see one change. The energy code, that changed a couple of years ago, I saw no difference in that. The OSHA or anything on the Mass State Code. Now, whether people want to step it up and do extra things, like Laurel said, then absolutely go ahead. If you want to sell your product and you want to put better dehumidifiers in, better air purifiers, absolutely do it. But there's no code on this.
There's also incentives when you put, you know, regulated, you know, your heat monitors and things. There's a lot of incentives through Mass Save and different government entities that you're able to get a kickback on upgrading to sustainable energy.
but
Very true.
Yep.
isn't there a code too for new development to allow certain amount of units or percentage of the entire building for affordable housing? And that's probably hasn't changed, correct?
13%, isn't it, Laurel?
Yeah, in Boston, if you're creating new development, then you're required to do affordable housing. We built a senior housing over in South Boston with 55 residences of new housing for affordable. So it's Boston has some good criteria in place.
We're also seeing new legislation coming through and new measures, I should say, in Cambridge and Newton and things like that are helping to boost the number of affordable housing units. Cindy, you smacked your head. Did you not agree with what I said?
No, I thought you were going to start talking about electric heat. I thought you were going in that direction.
Oh, no.
The
No.
big topic in Brookline and Cambridge, they're going right back at it again with electric heat. They don't want you to have gas. So
Is that stemming from the incident? I shouldn't call it an incident. It's much more than that. The catastrophe up north?
absolutely not. Clean air, clean this, clean that. But in my opinion, this is my home. If I want to run a gas dryer and a gas stovetop and gas heat, you're taking those rights away from people. I don't know how many people live in a house with electric heat. I don't know how many people look at their bills with electric heat. Now that typically goes on in a lot of condos in Boston. Single family residential homeowners, they don't want electric heat. They want to wait 2 hours for their dryers to dry. You know, you put your stuff in a gas dryer, it's dried in 20 minutes. But I think this time, they lost last time, but I think Cambridge and Brookline might just pull this off this time. I find it amazing, but how much you're going to dictate to us in our homes what we can and can't have? You've already taken away our height restrictions. You've given us these crazy FAR. You tightened up our garage square footage. Every day there's a new rule that they're trying to set in place in the Newton Brookline area. And then you go to areas like Lynn and they're begging developers to come in. Yeah, come on, just come, right? But when do you draw the line on people's rights? And that's my fight on this whole thing. But again, that's another topic for another day, but that's what's coming down the road here. Electric heat.
Now, Cindy, before we move on, for those of us not in the know, what does FAR stand for?
I'm sorry. So that's a floor ratio, meaning here's how much land you have. So you have how much land, let's say you have a 25,000 square foot lot, and I have a 25,000 square foot lot. It's a floor area ratio, but we could be living right next door to each other. And depending on where the line cuts, you might be able to get a 10,000 square foot house on your lot, and I might be able to get a 3,000 square foot lot.
Okay.
So when I first started building, you bought the lot and you built what you wanted to build. It's nothing like that anymore.
Yeah, thank you. Now we've delved into the environment and health. You read stories about off-gassing from wood products, wood floors, and from carpeting and from paint, the VOCs. What do you advise clients that are very concerned about the health of the home? Cindy?
I'm gonna take it from here. You have a stretch energy code in place, okay? From the minute they put that stretch energy code in place, they did not look at the side effects of the stretch energy code. A house cannot breathe. People are going, oh yeah, I spent all this money and I spray foam my whole house. And they think that like they're bragging this to their friends. Well, buddy, let me tell you what you just did. You just closed in your house and you capsulated your house, and it's wrong to do. You're over insulating a home. The home can't breathe. Now what are you doing? You're opening windows, you're opening doors. Now they implement the stretch energy code. And now they're saying in the last 3 years, oh, we want you now to bring fresh air into the house. I do not believe in spray foam. I've been a builder for 34 years. I believe in spray foam on flat parts of your roof, your rafters, but then you have to bring fresh air in. Think about this. If I just put you in a room, a soundproof room, right? That's what you're doing when you start over insulating a home. Now, here's the next question, which, and I've debated this many times, if you're over insulating the inside, that means the house can't breathe from the outside. So you have to stop airflow from the outside if you're going to stop it from the inside. If you don't do that, now that means if you're going to spray foam the inside, then you better blue skin the complete outside. So now nothing's moving. As long as air can get on one side of the house and it can't get to the other, you're going to end up with mold. I take apart houses from the early 1900s when you found Time Life magazines in the walls, and the rot, there's no rot on these houses. I take down houses from the 50s and 60s where insulation became bigger and bigger, rotted. So all you're doing, again, over insulating, and the houses can't breathe. And I want to know down the road, is this going to hurt my children's lungs or breathing through the night, all that spray foam? Nothing wrong with the Pink Panther insulation. It's called open cell, closed cell insulation, and there should be a good balance. But I literally have, clients go, oh no, I want it all spray foam. No, actually you don't. And that's the biggest debate out here.
And I would imagine today there's more efficient heating systems and things that can help regulate that stuff. You don't need it in your insulation.
Correct. But go tell that's the stretch energy code. So when Massachusetts came with the stretch code, every city and town got $100,000 or $150,000, whatever the number was, to implement it in their town and cities. So of course they go always to the more expensive suburbs. They go to Newton, Brookline, Wellesley, and they keep branching Cambridge, and then they stop branching into other cities and towns.
Shawn, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, I think just quickly though, and I think it's an example of, sometimes when committees make decisions and they don't fully understand the consequences. But Cindy's right. From our standpoint, my perspective on this is through kitchen ventilation. So if you have an environment that Cindy just described, and then you want to, you want to cook a meal and you crank up your hood, which you're supposed to do. If there's no fresh air coming in and you're sucking it all out. So we've had to react with this whole idea of makeup air, and it's not the best scenario. It really isn't. So it's frustrating and it's a challenge.
So you see people renovating and putting in this closed cell foam insulation and all that, but do you foresee this uptick in renovations and design continuing post-COVID?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because more and more areas are pushing the stretch code. Now you have to hire a Hearst radar guy. He's then got to do a report. He's got to lay out the insulation that's going in the house. The town or city has to sign off on it. You got to follow this. You can't, there can't be a leak in any duct. It's a very strict code.
But do you see this fervor for renovating continuing post-COVID, Laurel?
Yes.
I do. I think people have now spent so much time in their homes. They've figured out sort of their hierarchy of what my priority things are that I need to do immediately, just in reaction to the pandemic and the fact that my whole family is now schooling remotely and working remotely. But then they're looking at the long-term projects, and also to what we all spoke about earlier, the need for help and the time period that it's taking to, get your home renovated. I think people are finding more projects. So I think that it's going to last for quite some time.
Yes, Sean.
Yeah, I agree. I've never in my career seen this much demand. And I mean, just with the the demand backlog that we have in our business right now, I mean, it's going to take us at least 18 months, to work through that. And I think, I mean, at some point there's going to be a correction, right? But that said, I mean, the economy has so many positive notes to it, especially here in Boston. And it's one of the things I love about our city. And what I love about New England is, it's got such a balanced economy, more so than any other city. I mean, New York City's got a huge problem on its hands, a huge problem. So, and a lot of cities do, and I'm not picking on New York, but, Boston is got, in my opinion, is going to continue to thrive and grow, which, feeds the rest of New England, because we're a one city region. And I think, especially life science, Laurel mentioned life science a couple times, that's going to continue to grow. And I think COVID put gasoline on the life science fire. I mean, and Boston is the life science capital of the world, right?
Yeah. And biotech.
Right. And it's just going to continue to. Somebody was telling me the other day that there's 7,000 known diseases in humans, and we have only 2,000 known cures. So we got to find 5,000 cures. And you know what? If I'm betting on a city, I'm betting on Boston, because it's got a great micro economy.
Sean, keep scaring us with more viruses, okay?
On that less than upbeat note, we've reached the end of our time. I do believe that Boston is resilient, and I do believe that our panelists have been wonderful with their advice and their commentary, and I'd like to thank them all very much. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Sean, and Cindy and Laurel. Thank you so much for taking your time with us today to do a deep dive on design.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Eileen.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this deep dive into real estate and design. And that concludes our webinar. Have a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.